Thanks everybody for joining us. You have found the Origin Community Call. Hopefully this is what you were expecting. If not, I definitely hope that you hang out with us for a little while, and feel free to come back every week, same time, same place. I'm going to have to remember to hold these keys down because I don't want to go change the settings on my Discord. So hopefully that'll work out. If you are if you're not muted or don't have the same settings on Discord, please consider muting. But there will be plenty of opportunity to jump in and offer your perspective, say hello, let us know who you are and how you found us. But let me look over at the agenda. If somebody would post it in the side chat here, if you haven't already, that'd be great. It's also linked in the event listing. But let me look over there and see what's on the docket for today. So the first thing that we'll talk about after going through some announcements and recognizing any community contributions will be checking in on our wallet and token list integrations. That it's kind of an ongoing project for product and business development teams. Then we will talk a little bit about metrics and how we measure success for OUSD and OGV. Last thing for OUSD today is going to be a little bit of sprint planning. We have 2-week engineering cycles, and we have a radically transparent culture here at Origin. So we tend to talk about, in this meeting, we talk about what priorities are for engineering team and for the rest of us, and set some goals for the coming 2 weeks. Then we'll have some time for Origin Story team to give an update on the NFT platform and talk about any governance proposals that are currently open for a vote. And then again, as I mentioned, we'll have some time for introductions around the end of the call, maybe in 30 or 40 minutes. Is there anything else that I didn't cover that we should talk about today? I forgot to put Daniel on the agenda to talk about alternatives to our redeem fee and maybe get an initial take on whether or not we want to explore that. So I'll throw that in the agenda too. But to kick it off, are there any announcements, anything to flag that comes to mind since last week? There are a couple of things that I wanted to mention. One is that someone on Twitter flagged that the convenience link for IPFS link, so it's eth.link, has apparently expired. So it's now potentially unsafe to use those convenience links. We were using one on our OUSD dApp, and so we've replaced that. I think Doman deployed a change to that link, so we shouldn't have any risk of a vulnerability there. But just wanted to flag that in case anyone sees eth.link URLs somewhere around Twitter or Discord. Be sure to treat those with extreme caution. The other thing that I wanted to flag from the past week is that OGV has since been listed on KuCoin, which is a really positive step sorry, did I say OGV or did I say OUSD? Anyway, they're both listed on KuCoin now. That resulted in a little bit of a spike in the price and then increased trading volume. So we look forward to getting more listings for both tokens on various exchanges and continuing to build momentum for this product. Anything else that comes to mind before I jump into the rest of the agenda?
Hey, Micah, just a quick heads up for the engineering team. Alchemy is doing maintenance of their infrastructure today. They're doing an upgrade. So if you guys notice any errors or issues, please let me know and we'll notify them in our Telegram channel with them.
Thanks, Frank. Any other community contributions to recognize? I know we've got several potential engineering candidates helping out on a couple of different projects, and we have our valued team members, Jeremy and Roland, continuing to make a lot of contributions that we'll talk about later. Well, consider that an open invitation. If you see anything in the docs, you don't have to be an engineer to make a contribution. You see anything in the docs that could be revised or that we could help explain better, any tips for how we can increase community engagement, in Discord or on social channels. We'd love for everyone to jump in and get more involved. Let's talk about the wallet and token list integrations. Jeremy, would you mind giving a quick recap of some successes we've had there and general progress update?
Absolutely. So let's start off with the successful integrations. First and foremost, we have token sets now supporting OGV and OUSD, which is pretty cool because now you could compose your own index of sorts that could track OGV, OGN, and now OUSD as the yield earning asset. So that's pretty neat. Second, we have Zapper supporting OUSD as well as OGV and the staking aspect of OGV as well. So you could in real time see your OGV rewards accrue on the Zapper profile. So that's pretty neat. Then we have Coin98. They'll be announcing support of OUSD, OGV, and I believe wrapped OUSD sometime this week. I believe it's from the 5th to the 7th. And then on an OGN related front, OGN can now be used as a denominated asset on Enzyme Finance to create a vault. So I found that pretty neat. I was just dabbling around with their DApp and I ran into that. So that was pretty cool. And then vMarketCap is slated to announce support for vOGV on their platform as well. And then I could dive into pending if you like as well.
Are there any in particular that you think we should know about? Or are you blocked on anything we can help with?
Nothing blocked, just the off and on ghosting when reaching out. But besides that, everything is going smoothly. To kind of touch on the proposal that we have over on Element, you attended as well as Daniel. Deliberation is going on as we speak, and they're reviewing the proposal. Really interesting stuff with that taken into consideration. But besides that, we're free, no blockers, and we're going to keep rolling.
Cool, thanks. We were talking about community contributions a minute ago. I guess that Element Finance proposal is a great example of a community contribution going the other direction. So Jeremy created this proposal on a different protocol to integrate OUSD, and I think that was before you actually got involved in the team. So thanks so much for working on that and for leading that proposal on their community call the other day. I was going to highlight one other thing that came to mind. You mentioned the Zapper integration for some of our tokens. I feel like we should confess to Frank that when the manager's away, the engineers will play. So Mike, who's not here, he took it upon himself to integrate OGV staking in particular with Zapper, just because he wanted to learn more about how VEOGV functioned, which I thought was pretty cool because there's a little bit of cross-pollination across Origin team, and we really appreciated him jumping in and making that happen in short order.
Absolutely, that's awesome. Thanks, Mike, for doing that.
Yep, totally. All right. Well, are there any others to highlight? I don't think I see Peter here, and there are a handful of integrations that he's working on pushing forward. So I'll follow up with him. I think we're talking later this afternoon and tomorrow, so we'll check in on those. But we want to keep pushing forward as much as we can on all of this, and maybe when we get into sprint planning a little later, we can firm up some goals for measuring progress here. But I think I speak for everyone when I say that we are making progress, and this is it looks a little bit different than it did a few weeks ago before Jeremy and Peter got involved. So thanks, guys. Let's talk about success metrics a little bit. So this is something that we talked about on multiple occasions in the past, but it's good for us to revisit this. We got a little nudge from our finance leadership within Origin saying, we're deploying a lot of resources to OUSD. We're going to continue to do that for a long time. And so how do we measure and know that that those resources are well spent and that we're actually making progress with the product? So the guiding light for OUSD, the most important success metric, the focus metric, is TVL, as you might call it. When you look at a lot of other protocols, In our case, it's a little bit unique because our TVL, the amount of value that we have in our vault, is also the same as the total supply of the token, because for every dollar of value that's deposited to our vault, $1 of OUSD is minted. And then, of course, the same is also true for our market cap. So you can really look at any one of these numbers and they say the same thing. The other way that they measure our success, not only growth and adoption of the protocol, is that they also reflect the yield that is being earned by the protocol. And, that's the core value proposition that everyone cares about when they're holding OUSD. So this number's going up. It means we're earning money on behalf of all of our users, or the protocol is, and people are continuing to adopt it. And for the sake of full transparency, this number has been going the wrong direction lately. We peaked at about 300 million TVL or supply around the end of last year, and part of that's due to the change in the market. There's been a lot of deterioration in the market, and a lot of drama that we don't have to rehash here. But just want everyone to know that this is the most important metric for us, and we're making this our top priority to drive TVL to new heights, far beyond the 300 million that we experienced a few months ago. Of course, the primary way that we drive TVL is by creating an attractive yield, because that's what most OUSD holders primarily care about. And similarly, the yield has been underperforming expectations over the past several months. Again, that's because a lot of stablecoin borrowers and LPs are all de-levering over the past several months. But we're not going to rest on our existing strategies that we've had for a couple of years now. We're going to be pushing aggressively to explore other strategies and hopefully launch one or two new ones in the coming weeks. But of course, we're going to keep in mind that security is the primary concern for OUSD. We're never going to jeopardize users' funds, and we've got Daniel here beating that drum all the time, making sure that whatever risks we do take, they're very measured and justified by the increase in the yield. We'll talk about what that means a little bit later in terms of sprint planning. But one other metric that we have not talked about before that Josh flagged, that's something that we should pay attention to, is the stablecoin market share that OUSD has. So it's one thing for us to be losing TVL or supply or usage if the entire crypto industry is falling. But if other stablecoins are growing, we should be growing just as fast as them, if not faster. So we definitely want to start measuring OUSD's performance relative to those others. And then I've linked a doc here in the notes where a few times in the past we've kind of commented and discussed other lower level metrics that we should be tracking and paying attention to that all inform these focus metrics that we talked about here. Are there any others? That's a lot of talking from me. Are there any others that come to mind that we should really be paying attention to? You're also welcome to dive into that doc and comment. But anything else that we should discuss here right now?
For GV, maybe should we track the staking rate?
Yeah, that sounds like a good suggestion. Thanks for reminding me that I didn't actually keep going on the notes and talk about OGV success, which very much hinges on price and trading volume and how many people are holding it. So yeah, I think that staking percentage is definitely an important factor that contributes to all of that. Any other? Yep.
Yeah, just a thought that I think stablecoin market share would be, out of all the metrics, like pretty good gauge of how well we're doing considering the market conditions. So, whether we're outperforming or underperforming, considering whether market's going up or down. Just a thought that's like a cool gauge of that.
Thanks.
That makes sense.
Yeah. No, it totally does. Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to figure out how to unmute myself again. if anybody else has anything to add, or wants to dive in a little deeper and see what else we're thinking about, please check out that doc. It should be open to and accessible to the public. So take a look there, and we'll continue the conversation there this week. Should we talk about sprint planning a little bit?
Yes. I have no objections.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I mentioned we have a 2-week sprint cycle for our engineering team. There are a couple things that we pretty much completed during the 2-week period ending this coming Wednesday. One of those was the non-claim staking experience that Tom was working on improving. It's come a long way. There was a demo last week. If you want to find that video on YouTube, you can check out what changes we made there. You can also go to governance.ousd.com. There's a stake link at the top there, and no better way to see the improvements that we made than to go through that experience yourself. You can buy some OGV on KuCoin, come to that page and stake it and earn a triple-digit APY right now. And then you can, I guess one of the other improvements was that you can claim your earnings along the way at any time. You don't have to wait for the end of the lockup period to be able to do that. So thanks again to Tom for making that happen. We talked about our integrations and listings progress. We don't need to go through that right now. The governance and value accrual area is something that I don't know that we've made a lot of progress on. We did make progress determining what the interface is lacking, what it needs. So the general conclusion that we reached there is that the prototype that we have right now, it's deployed to our staging environment. Maybe somebody can link that. It was pretty much, I wouldn't say a copy, but heavily inspired by Compound's governance experience. Contracts are very similar, pulled from OpenZeppelin, I believe. And then the front end experience is very much influenced by Compound. So we're going to stick with that. We're not going to reinvent the wheel. But we're also going to focus primarily on voting as the primary sort of job to be done by a user there. We're not expecting the average user to come to this on-chain governance portal and create proposals. Most of the proposals are going to come from the core team for now, although it'll be decentralized. Anyone with the relevant technical experience will definitely be able to create proposals, but we're not going to invest too heavily in creating an interface for regular people to initiate proposals. I think for anyone who wants to make a suggestion, we're going to keep our snapshot space open. That's currently at vote.ousd.com. So if you have a suggestion for a new strategy that we deploy, a change to the way that we allocate funds right now, any sort of improvement to the protocol, you'd start on vote.ousd.com, make a proposal there, get a signaling vote from VEOGV holders, and then we would move toward the on-chain governance experience after that. So I think Tom is working on sort of refining and fixing the current state of that prototype. And I know, Tom, you were sort of blocked by being able to create a new proposal just for testing purposes. Did we ever get that resolved? Did we unblock you there?
Doman's working on some contract refactoring on the DApp, so we should be able to get back to how it was when Tom Linton worked on it. So we should be able to get a proposal up and then see more where the lay of the land is and move forward from there. But I mean, if that fails, we can get Daniel to do one in the contracts direct.
Just on that, the pull request for that refactoring is up. Though cool. I still couldn't get a proposal, so that's the thing I'm currently working on. There was like this error that the user doesn't have like enough voting power to create proposal, even though there is enough voting power. So I'm investigating that, and it seems to me, I could be wrong, but it seems to me that the bug is on the contract level somewhere. So yeah, okay. I'm on that currently.
Good deal. Thanks, Doman, for jumping on that so quickly. So just to reiterate here, getting that governance interface live and in production, usable, that was, I would say that is a priority for the upcoming sprint. And then the other thing that is that's also a top priority is handing over ownership of the governance contracts, ownership of the entire protocol to VE-OGV holders. And I think, Daniel, you were going to do some more testing before we actually pull the trigger on that.
Yeah, I think we should get the governance system up and working with the voting and, have, a test proposal in and through it before we do that. So I think we were less far along on that process than we thought we were.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. So just let's just walk through what that means. The new interface will go live in production whenever it's ready. And then we'll create an inconsequential proposal just
Correct.
to test it.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. And then we'll create a binding proposal, a formal proposal to hand over ownership of the contracts.
Correct. Now that binding proposal will actually be in the old system, or that. Yeah, I guess we will have a binding vote to hand it over to the new ones, and then we'll actually execute that through the old system since those are currently owned by the old system.
Gotcha. Okay. We can work out the details on that this week, but those sound like good goals for the upcoming sprint. The other areas, sorry, I'm kind of going slowly through this, but I think we're sort of tackling this sprint and the next one at the same time. Other areas that were priorities were shoring up the marketing and documentation. So we've added some details around OGV staking and how VE-OGV is calculated to the docs. Thanks, Daniel, for doing that. And then this week, I'm going to work on a spec for updating the marketing pages on OUSD.com specifically. Matt put together a proposal for updating OriginProtocol.com. And so I guess we need to answer the question about whether the OriginProtocol.com changes are going to be tackled by OUSD engineering or story engineering or someone else. Don't know if we should answer that here or elsewhere.
Let me follow up with the team, Mike. I don't have a good sense of the scope yet. I haven't checked out yet the marks for the new website. So I'd like to understand that first, and then I'll chat with both engineering teams.
Sounds good. And so shortly after that, lower priority will be updating the OUSD marketing pages. Just as a loose goal, I'd say we should try to get all of that done. I'll try to have a first rev of a spec done by the end of the current sprint, so end of day Wednesday, and then maybe we can have the whole thing built and live 2 weeks later. Without knowing scope, we can maybe have a minimal version done by then so that we're not stuck with the status quo 2 weeks from now.
That's good, yeah.
All right. Then the other area that was a priority was shoring up the yield. So I mentioned earlier that our APY is a lot lower than we need it to be. And so the real decision to make here by this week was decide whether or not we're going to implement a new strategy. I feel pretty confident that the answer to that is yes, we need to. I agree, Daniel. We're not just going to do that for the sake of doing it. It needs to be safe and it needs to produce a high enough yield to make it worth our while. But I think we need to operate under the assumption that we do need to come up with a next strategy. It won't be the last one, and there are things to do between now and rolling it out. But I think we need to operate as if we're rolling out a new one.
Yep.
So I think that for this next sprint, I would propose a goal of agreeing on what that strategy is and kind of defining the scope of what's involved for engineering, and not have it done and deployed in the next 2 weeks, but be prepared to have started on building it or be building it by the next sprint. How does that sound?
Yeah. We need to make sure the numbers work and analyze a set of them and see what works out. Yeah.
Okay. And then thanks, Daniel, also for deploying the OIP4 to be just one extra layer of peg protection in the event of a stablecoin collapse or something like that. But hopefully that will never actually get used, but it's one extra way that we're protecting everyone who holds OUSD. I added some clarity around some other goals for the next sprint on some of these same themes. So you can take a look at that in the notes. Franck, I think you wanted to add another theme around tech debt. You want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, so I think as we implement new features, we also need to make sure that we have a clean code base and that we budget time for cleaning things up. So I brought up a couple of things in the doc. There might be more, but I think in general, like as we go through these sprint plannings, I'd love for the team to tell us what are the things that they think we should invest in. The two that I have, so one is on actually we are both on the governance, I think, repo. Since it's actually newer, I feel there's a little bit more of cleanup to do there. When we rewrote the VOGV, we missed the proxy issue, like we implemented with the incompatible proxy compared to what was deployed. And I think Tom had mentioned that the root cause was that we have two testing framework. So I think it would be good to unify them, or at least to have a simple command so that we can run both of them as part of development. So that's one. The other one was about deploys. I feel like our process for deploying contract on the governance repo is still a little bit in flux. And for example, we don't track. I don't think we really keep track of history. We don't have migrations. So I was wondering if we should invest some time in hardening this deploy system. Any comments or thoughts?
I agree that we should have both a unified test set and a unified deploy set. We do have them basically both split half in hard hat land Brownie for some of it and hard hat for some of the other. And yeah, it's not good for the long term to have two separate systems.
How about deploys? How do you guys feel about deploys? Do you guys feel it's worth prioritizing? Right now we use Brownie, I think, for deploy, but we don't have any way, I believe.
Well, we use Brownie for deploys for one part for half of it, and we use Hard Hat for deploys for the other half of it. And there actually are Hard Hat scripts, but yeah.
Which we should unify too.
Yeah, I agree. We should unify them.
Or
split them into two separate repos so that each repo only has one thing, because they're fairly independent of each other.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine if we want to use Brownie on governance and Hard Hat on OUSD, but each repo should have
Well, sorry. Right now we're using Hard Hat for OUSD, Brownie for the governance token OGV and the governance proposal vote counting system / time lock. And then we're using Foundry for OGV staking and OGV rewards. So I'm thinking we shouldn't have the two in the same repo using two different systems. Is definitely a pain.
Yeah, I agree. I'll create a couple of issues and we can hash out the details. Anything else in terms of tech debt that you guys would want to see us investing in?
Yeah, there's probably some front-end consolidation that we can do as well. I mean, I'm kind of doing it along the way as we work on, minor issues, getting things into more modular components, more reusable stuff. We definitely could make the front-end code base more dry. We've got a bit of repetition somewhere, especially when we were sprinting towards the launch. So there's definitely, once we've got, any high priority issues out of the way, I reckon we should do some consolidation on the front end side as well.
Do you want to create an issue, Tom, for that one?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Tom, on that topic, we were having to deal with the two separate login packages or modules or whatever, and I didn't realize when we first flagged that the one that we're using in the governance repo is TypeScript, I guess, and the other one is JavaScript. Is that what keeps us from just using the same package or like consolidating that into one shared library or something?
No, not really. It wasn't really a problem with TypeScript versus JavaScript. It was just the MyEther wallet package that is used on the Swapped app kind of doesn't play as nicely with some of the other connectors with Web3 model, which we're using on the governance app. So I just had to do a little bit of extra work on that, but it was pretty straightforward once I cracked it. In terms of consolidation and that topic, again, I think any consolidation that we can do, we should do across code bases. I mean, we could even create our own wallet connect pattern, as a package that we can import into future dApps as well. I think it's definitely worth investing some time in that, or at least looking into existing packages that we can leverage and potentially modify.
Yeah, I owe you an answer on whether or not the current Ledger Connect option with the governance app is sufficient or not. I haven't gotten a chance to dig into that myself as a user, but I do think like this isn't just a technical debt issue. This has like implications for business development and products, because if we tell we're talking to a wallet project and we want to add them as one of the wallets that's supported alongside Coinbase and Trust Wallet or whatever else, it's a different conversation if we have to add them separately, and it's like two separate engineering projects to do that.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. I mean the macro take on all the dApps that we create is that we should have some kind of like design system or package set that we can leverage over and over again. So there's a short term issue with the consolidating the wallet connect kind of stuff between the dApps, but then there's the bigger macro point of we should do that across the board for all the components that we use. So yeah, no, I completely get where you're coming from, and it probably we should probably reprioritize that issue, and if we need to port over the swapped app stuff like for like, and that's something we really want to do, then let's bump it up if you think that that's needed.
Okay, let me dig into the Ledger experience, because that's the one that I think is the most important, and it's the one where we invested the most effort on the swap dApp side.
Yeah, and everything else we have.
For sure, yeah. All right, anything else to talk about on sprint planning, Frank? Anybody else?
No, I think that's good. As next step, Micah, should we prioritize everything on the board? Should we sync up together and come up with prioritization, and then we'll have a team take a look and see who wants to work on what and how much we can do.
That sounds good. I'll take the action item to just make sure everything is in the board if it's not already, and then I got an action item there for Tom to write up an issue for the one he was talking about, and yeah, we'll go from there maybe later today. We're running a little bit behind schedule. That's my fault. But Daniel, do you want to talk for a minute about what you were thinking about in terms of the redeem fee for OUSD?
Yeah, give me just a second to pull that up, get ready.
Sure. While you're doing that, just to add a little context, I assume everyone knows that if you wanted to burn OUSD, swap your OUSD in the smart contract for the underlying stablecoins, that would be a redeem of OUSD, and as a mechanism to prevent malicious attackers, we have a fee on that redeem that's currently 25 basis points. It used to be 50 basis points. So that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah. So we're thinking, what could we do to get rid of this? Just because it's a impediment to people easily swapping in and out with large amounts of money. We think that, or we've heard from people with millions or tens of millions that they would like to use OUSD if they could just come in for a little while and then go out without, and kind of do that in a one-to-one basis instead of coming out with less money. The redeem fee hits you if you don't, it reduces your yield over time, and it increasingly reduces or possibly even makes it negative, your effective yield if you're in it for only a couple weeks. So just thinking what we would need to do to change that. The thing that the redeem fee is in place for is to prevent someone from essentially using OUSD as a zero fee swap contract, where let's say DAI is more valuable, USDT is less valuable as a stablecoin. So you go into OUSD with USDT and you come and redeem it for a portion of DAI, and you've made a small arbitrage profit, which would in effect result in people automating this. And very quickly, the only thing that OUSD would have would be whatever is the least valuable stablecoin. So that's why we have a redeem fee that's kind of in the vicinity of both the error on the oracles that we have from Chainlink and approximately in the vicinity of a Uniswap swap fee to make it easier to swap from changes of coins, swap which coins you have by going through Uniswap or Curve rather than through OUSD. So as OUSD is right now, a redeem fee is kind of a necessary part of its design. So anything to remove the redeem fee isn't just a matter of setting that down to 0, it's a matter of changing how OUSD works. The simplest with like 6 different options for changing this, and would love feedback on thumbs up, thumbs down, thoughts on any of them, ones that I've missed. The simplest way is just to switch OUSD, and not all these are necessarily good ideas. The simplest way is to just run all mints and all redeems denominated in the same currency. For example, Frax does this. This is what a lot of DeFi-centric things have changed to over the past, since the start of the DeFi summer, is they realize that oracles are really hard and you can completely forget about oracles or any kinds of exchange rate losses if you just do everything in whatever currency somebody puts in is the same one they get out and the same thing it's denominated in. So for example, if we made OUSD only work backed by USDC, you put USDC in, you get USDC out, suddenly we don't need to have any kind of oracle on the price of a USDC. We don't need to have any redeem fee because there's no arbitrage opportunities. That's the simple, stupid thing. The issue there is USDC yields tend to be far lower. We no longer have a mix of yields. We have a dependency on a single backing stablecoin that's it's not going to be easy to switch what it is. A possibly terrible idea is to switch to have many OUSD instances, each one backed by a single asset. Then again, no need for redeem fees or oracles. A core component of what OUSD is and our long-term vision of OUSD is that there is only one OUSD and it's interchangeable with itself. And so this would completely go against that. It'd keep it from being a kind of a good medium of exchange because there would no longer be one kind of OUSD. Another option is to create a way to have locked, non-transferable OUSD that's backed by a specific asset. So you put $5 million in, you get 5 million OUSD that's locked, and you can switch any percentage of that back out to the exact same kind of funds you put in one-to-one. This has to be non-transferable because otherwise you could put $5 million USDT in and then later redeem for a mix of more valuable things in the event that USDT went to a lower price. But what this would give is a way for large institutional investors to be into OUSD and out with no exactly predictable one-to-one ratios. We have more capital essentially under management. They get extremely predictable in and out. This also would benefit if somebody's building DeFi strategies on top of OUSD using OUSD as a kind of DeFi primitive, then this also provides them a simple path of, you do this, you get exactly what you put in. This is going to be probably moderate, high complexity on the scale of things to implement. Or maybe there's some genius way to do that I haven't thought of yet. But it would require changes to both the OUSD token and to the to the vault, the way mints and redeems are handled. So it would count as relatively medium-high complexity. Next route would be to change to a model where OUSD picks the coins that returns to a user on a redeem. It could be something as if it's going for always trying to keep a targeted mix and returning whatever it has too much of, or it could be returning whatever it has or whatever it thinks is the least valuable coin. This would allow us to do one-to-one redeems, since you wouldn't have really an arbitrage opportunity to something more valuable. And if you if you just dumped, let's say you flash loaned $100 million, put it into OUSD, the thing that OUSD would return to you would be the same coin, and so that you wouldn't have gained anything by doing that flash loan arbitrage process. This would probably be a medium complexity because it really only affects our redeem function. It doesn't affect anything about the OUSD token or the rest of the system. We could, as another option, we could possibly have a hybrid model where all mints and redeems are done in a single currency. Let's say we pick DAI or something. We could then switch some of that funds into other stable coins and, in the worst case, send those back. I think this would be something where we would really want to have some kind of protocol-owned liquidity to kind of cover any differences in exchange rates between those, and so be able to simply get you stuff back afterwards with no worries about swap fees eating into that. But that way, there wouldn't be a need for any oracles in that. Lastly, and this isn't necessarily a good idea as well, is we could have the redeem fee paid in advance. That would mean that the price of OUSD on Curve and Uniswap would always be slightly higher than $1 rather than slightly less than $1. Disadvantage of that is that it doesn't help the mega whale use case where somebody wants to jump in for a little while and then jump out and not have paid a fee for doing so. Those are the 6 ideas that I came up with. Good to hear more ideas. And yeah, back to you, Micah.
Thank you for walking through that and for taking all the time to think through those different scenarios. I think in the interest of time, we'll probably move on from the topic for today. But we've got the doc linked in the side chat. I see Doman's adding some of his thoughts. And we should definitely take a little bit of time and confirm. I think we should probably go through the different options, but really try to decide whether this is something we want to tackle right now at all. Because I won't insert my opinions right now, but we should. I think that should be the primary objective. All right. Why don't we hand it off to Origin Story team now that we've taken up all the time and see if they have any updates for us. Linus?
Hey, thanks, Micah and team. Cool. Just a couple quick highlights on Origin Story. A lot of these are just continuation of themes we've been talking about, which I think is a good sign. What we're doing, we're very excited about and continues to gain momentum. First, on collections, our product for branded marketplaces. Last week was exciting. We launched our second marketplace publicly, which was with Chubbyverse. We're excited to partner with them for the long term. So we announced that on Thursday over at Twitter Spaces, which was really well received. Great energy there. We're starting to get great feedback from that community about using that marketplace, and I'm proudly rocking my chubby friend here, who's a narwhal with a sushi hat, just to be clear, super rare, and that's going to be my forever chubby. The momentum from these BD conversations still continues to be very promising. We've signed or have received verbal commitments from over a dozen NFT projects. And this is a platform where it's pretty easy for us to spin up the engineering aspects of it, but we are lining up marketing, where co-marketing is a major part of our strategy here. So you'll start to see continued co-marketing, Twitter Spaces, social integrations, and things like that to get the word out that Origin is partnering with all of these communities. We are expecting another marketplace launch later this week. So stay tuned for an announcement there, and likely at Twitter Spaces to kick off that partnership. We aim to be as transparent as possible with all of this, of course, but with some of these things on the NFT side, respecting the wishes of the NFT partner to make sure there's a major moment here on when we launch is really crucial. So we'll aim to be as transparent as possible about who the partners are and when they'll be launched. But for now, we want to kind of like build up the hype for this. So stay tuned. We'll be dropping more hints and updates about when and who that will be later on. In terms of new features for the marketplace, the big thing that we've been working on that we're very excited about is native listings. So the opportunity to buy and sell natively on our marketplace, and that will unlock revenue generation. That work is going really strong. We're planning to do internal testing this week, and if all goes well, we'll be lining up that to be launched publicly on marketplaces by mid-August. In terms of engineering priorities, continue to work on native listings, launching more marketplaces, and infrastructure and data improvements continue to be the key priorities for this sprint. We'll be having another sprint planning session for Origin Story on Wednesday for the following 2 weeks, where some of the same themes will be carrying forward, but we'll also be looking at how do we actually make native listings really world-class, thinking about some issues like how do we handle stolen NFTs, and also thinking about how do we go even above and beyond the existing marketplaces, not just power trading features, but what could potentially differentiate the marketplace as being more of a community hub. So we're getting great feedback on potential ideas there about going in a different direction from the gems and the GDs of the world, which is very exciting. Finally, just an OGN staking update. As of this morning, 9 million OGN have been staked so far on our new Story staking site, which is great. We're also hearing great feedback from the community about areas of the UI or the staking mechanisms that weren't totally clear. So last week we had a great internal brainstorming session of making sense of all this feedback, and we've got mock-ups for how a V2 of the UI, so nothing changing here on the staking season itself or the mechanics, but just making it more clear. Some of the mechanics, the expected returns, the amount staked, these things are not clearly delineated on the site. And so we're looking to improve that in an upcoming sprint. So I'll pause there. That was the update on Origin Story.
Thanks, Linus. Anybody have any questions for Linus or any of the other topics that we covered? If you do come up with any questions, please jump into Discord, any one of the public channels there, and feel free to ask. The core team's all there, happy to answer questions and share ideas. I'm going to post a link in the side chat to where the governance proposals currently live for OUSD. Let me do that real quick. There we go. So there are two existing proposals that I'm aware of. One is our weekly allocation vote for OUSD for the underlying collateral to earn across different strategies. Please go vote on that one. Again, that one happens every week. We always talk about it here, and it opens in just a few hours. Then it looks like there's another new proposal that I hadn't actually seen, and that is to resume the buyback. We previously had, we take 10% of all of the yield that's generated by OUSD protocol, and that's a performance fee that is collected on behalf of the whole protocol. And it's been used in the past to buy OGN off of the open market. And so we have a bunch of OGN sitting in that buyback contract that will be governed by OGV stakers. And then the proposal here is to pick that back up, to start buying OGV off the open market using that same yield. And then that OGV will accumulate in another buyback contract that OGV stakers will control. And actually, based on one of the sprint projects that one of our contributors is working on, that OGV that's bought back and taken off the open market would actually become claimable by OGV stakers. Anyone who holds vote escrowed OGV would be able to come along at any time and claim that additional OGV, just like they can do right now for their staking rewards. So please go ahead and vote on those. Of course, you have to be a VE OGV holder to be able to do that. But I don't think there's any minimum threshold of VEOGV that you have to hold to be able to cast a vote. So we encourage you to participate there. And of course, the way to get VEOGV is to stake OGV at governance.ousd.com. And you can buy OGV on Uniswap, Huobi, KuCoin, and a handful of other exchanges. I remember 2 action items, one for Tom. I think he already took care of it. There was one for me, and I've already forgotten what it was, but I will go back through the notes and figure out what it was. And we have a couple of minutes here for introductions. If anyone wants to say hi, let us know how you found us and what you're working on or what you're excited about. Feel free to unmute if you would like to do that, or if you got anything else to add that, if any questions we didn't get to, go for it.
Hey all, hope you're doing well. Yeah, I'm Cryptplace, and I just thought I'd drop by. E. Charles recommended me about what Origin's been doing, so I thought I'd drop by and check out all the PRs and stuff. So gonna be going through some of them and left some questions on engineering. So yeah, thanks very much for today.
Great to have you here. Where are you based?
I'm currently in Paris, but kind of like all over the world, I guess. Yeah.
Primarily where? You cut out a little bit.
Paris.
Oh, very cool. Never been there, but I know some people on our team have. Anybody else want to say hi? All right. Well, thanks for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to join the conversation at originprotocol.com/Discord. It's where we hang out. It's where we continue this conversation the rest of the week. So we'll be here again, same time, same place next Monday. And until then.
See ya.
Bye, everyone. Yeah.
See ya. Bye.